Hey everybody, this is Diane. Hello and welcome to Biters.
And this is Marnell, and for the love of God, please wash your hands.
Oh, yes. So I still am hoarse. I'm pretty convinced I'm the first COVID-19 case in Alaska. But it's too late because I haven't been quarantined for the last 14 days, so you are all SOL.
Yep. You know what? Even if you get it, you'll probably be okay.
Right. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about all of the people I'm going to infect.
Right? You're young, you're healthy. It's just a really bad cold that becomes pneumonia.
Right.
You'll be fine.
Totally.
Just wash your hands. So, like, the stores in Juneau are completely out of Clorox wipes and Purell and everything like that. And people are just freaking out. And I'm like, what were you all doing before, you dirty birds?
Oh my God, I know. So, okay, we're obviously going to talk about the coronavirus tonight. Probably even
it's
beyond.
Be the zombie plague.
Right. But, so my whole thing is, I've been in healthcare for over 20 years, and the number of people that I see who go into the bathroom, use the bathroom, and don't wash their hands, it still freaks me out. So, yeah, those people are not changing their habits.
Yeah. So here's the thing, like, maybe the coronavirus will get all those people to start better hygiene practices and will stop the spread of the regular cold and flu. Right?
Right.
I mean, that's got to be how it works.
So I think a certain amount of freak out is important.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
You know, it's a novel emerging disease. We need to be aware of that. But yes, there are other things that are communicable that we can prevent that people die of every day. So
look, we survived SARS. We survived H1N1. We survived Ebola. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just wash your hands.
And don't touch your face.
And don't touch your face. My biggest motivation for not getting the coronavirus is because I work in the public health director's office. So I really don't want to be patient zero.
Right.
Could you imagine if I gave the chief medical officer for the state of Alaska the coronavirus?
You know, she's pretty cool and she's pretty healthy, so she probably wouldn't hold it against you.
You know, and she's the one that's been crisscrossing the country from Alaska to D.C., so she's probably going to be the one that gives it to us.
Right.
All right. We are actually here to talk about Season 10, Episode 10
Stalker.
of The Walking Dead. Stalker.
All right. So, I'm going to go first with my rating because I liked it so much better than last week.
And I spoiled it for you this week.
You only spoiled a little bit. So, I say 4.7 arterial bleeds out of 5.
Wow. You rated it higher than I did.
I liked it a lot more. And I didn't get a second watch, so I don't know if that changed your rating or not.
It did. Like, it gained on the rewatch for me. So,
okay.
Yeah, my first walkthrough, I really, really liked it. And my second walkthrough, my first watch through, the second one, I picked up on so much more of the thing that is my good. So I gave it a 4.5 teeth and fingers.
Oh, very good. Yes, we will talk about Gabe. Yeah. Well, so I have no numbers. I went to TV by the numbers, which is where I usually get the Nielsen ratings. And last week's episode did not make the top 25 for cable. Interestingly enough, The Outsider did, but it was like 24 out of 25.
What was number one?
There was a lot of news and a lot of sports ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I swear my internet troubles because like I was trying to go to Forbes and things like that tonight, and I swear it's because it's Super Tuesday.
Oh,
So
yeah.
everything just keeps reloading. Like I'll be able to read like a paragraph, and then the page will reload and jump back up to the top. So
Well, and I had dish trouble again because we had a giant snowstorm this weekend, and our dish was so buried that hubby and a neighbor actually had to get up with a ladder and clean off the roof on Monday.
okay, so it wasn't like Dish Network was out. It was your dish.
It was totally weather related.
Oh, that's crazy.
We got probably 18 inches in 24 hours.
Man.
Yeah, it was crazy.
See, and it was monsooning here. We probably got 18 inches of rain.
In 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we live on tundra, so the ground is just like a sponge.
Okay, so I had some stuff about the title.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, so at first I was like, is Daryl our stalker? Is Alpha our stalker? No, Beta is our stalker.
Beta's our stalker, and Lydia was a stalker.
Yeah, a little bit of one. You're right.
Yeah, she stalked both groups, trying to figure out which side she was on.
Yeah. So I don't have tons about the title, but I felt like it was appropriately titled.
Yeah, I think we definitely saw the stalking primarily with Beta's storyline this episode.
Oh my gosh, and it was so good.
So good.
Yeah. So our writer was a guy named Jim Barnes, and when I looked him up, he wrote Ghosts, which we all really liked from the first half of this season.
Wow.
When we talked with Diana and Steve, all of us were like, yeah, Ghosts was one of the best episodes of the first half of the season. And the thing that's really funny is while I was watching and taking notes, I was like, this has the same, and I didn't realize it, but I was like, this has the same vibe as Ghosts. There are these moments of what's real, what's really going on. Is this person perceiving reality, or is this person hallucinating something? And then sure enough, I was like, there you go.
Oh,
Same
that's funny.
dude.
And it's funny that he wrote such a Carol-centric episode previously, and this episode, I mean, one of the noticeable things is we did not see Carol or most of that group at all.
Right, but it was really Daryl-centric.
Yes. Daryl and Beta.
The other thing that I thought was really good about Jim Barnes, and I was like, I love this guy. He can write for Walking Dead anytime. He really captured that authentic horror vibe, which he also captured in Ghosts. I mean, there were all of those things that were kind of Nightmare on Elm Street-ish, that were very, very much a nod to the whole genre. So it's pretty cool to see him revising it in this episode, or revisiting it in this episode.
So I was thinking Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, and it was funny because there was an article titled Beta Voorhees.
What's really funny is one of the Forbes guys mentioned Jason Voorhees, and I was like, I was thinking a little more Mike Myers, but Michael Myers, but same thing.
And I think it was, it wasn't Gail Ann Hurd.
Denise
there was
Huth,
an article
who was on.
No.
Okay.
But they were talking about how this was their quote unquote Halloween episode.
Oh,
so yeah,
very good.
Mike Myers.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so Jim Barnes can write for The Walking Dead anytime.
He has written on a lot of shows that I like. Gotham, Falling Skies, Revolution. Nikita was always on the list, but it's so far down there that
it may never come to the top of the list.
Nope. Maybe when I'm retired and living further north and I have 18 inches of snow.
Right.
And nothing else to watch. Exactly.
Which we're going to talk about other things to watch too. I'm creating a new corner on our podcast this week. All right. So,
Well,
oh, go
you
ahead.
always talk about what podcasts you're listening to, so why not we always talk about what we're watching.
We do. We always talk
We do.
about it. So
Yeah.
we're creating a new corner. We'll get there in a couple of minutes. So our director was a gal named Bronwyn Hughes, and Talking Dead pointed out that she has directed Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and they pointed out that she was responsible for the episode that introduced Heisenberg, which was Walter White's alter ego.
I have not watched Breaking Bad yet, and I
Oh,
know
my
I'm
God.
like the last person on earth.
So I'm going to tell you, I haven't gotten into Better Call Saul. I haven't tried, but Breaking Bad was phenomenal. I actually really need to take the time to rewatch it because it was so good.
Okay, so maybe I do need to be quarantined for 14 days with nothing else to do.
Okay, fair enough.
See how I looped back around to that?
Right? You just give Anne a call, you know?
Right? Oh.
So Bronwyn Hughes, this was her first Walking Dead effort. She's got tons of director credits, but I'm going to totally date myself here. Her very first director credit was an Amy Grant video.
Oh,
Now,
babe.
how many of us had that Amy Grant album from the early 90s? I can still picture her on the front cover.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm proud of it. I'm just saying.
You know, I won't ever admonish anybody for their taste in music. Like, it's whatever speaks to you, speaks to you.
You know, and it changes. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Some of that stuff sticks, but a lot of it changes.
Yeah, I was actually reading your blog the other day, and you were listening to
Counting Crows.
Counting Crows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you actually talked about me.
Yes.
That's when I went and visited you.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
when Debbie and I came down and picked you up in her little blue Acura.
And she had eucalyptus in the back window.
Did she?
She did.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
Isn't it weird the things that we
The
remember?
memories that you hold on to. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's so funny.
So the other thing that I thought was really cool is that Bronwyn Hughes actually has done a bunch of directing for Kids in the Hall, which I'm dating myself again because I loved that series.
I loved Kids in the Hall.
Yes.
It was like the Canadian Monty Python.
Oh my God, they were so funny.
They were, I'm squishing your head. I'm squishing your head.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
And the other thing that I picked up on when I was looking at her list of credits is that she directed some episodes of Queen of the South. And I want to say that there was a Fear alum who had been on Queen of the South. I know that we've talked about that series before.
I feel like you're right.
So,
Let's see if I can find it while you talk about other stuff that she's directed.
I did not deep dive. I didn't find that. So,
Okay.
the only other thing, and this is something that's on my list that will probably never make it to the top of the list because the list is so long. Did you watch Hung?
I didn't.
So it's about a well-endowed, I want to say PE teacher or a basketball coach. And I think it was a Showtime series.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, is I didn't have the channel that it was on. So, and that was, back before the internet had everything.
Right? I mean, now we could probably go back and watch it for free somewhere.
Right?
So, but yeah, that was on the list. And that's another thing that she did some directing for.
I actually recognize her for a lot of stuff that she's done recently. The Resident is a really, really good show.
Oh, I think you had mentioned that.
Yeah, if you're into medical dramas, The Resident is a really good one. Also, The Good Doctor, which is another medical drama.
I live a medical drama every day.
Right? She also directed 2 episodes of 13 Reasons Why. but it looks like it's probably the 13 Reasons Why season 3, which is this last season that they had, which I maybe the final season. I don't know. I think it was one of those things Netflix did, and they were like, "We're just going to do one season," and they were like, "Okay, fine, we will do a season 2," and then it was like, "Okay, we have to do a season 3." And
I
I
have
have
not
seen
watched it. I mean, I've heard amazing things about it.
it was super controversial for some very, very graphic content, and not like graphic in like nudity or anything like that. But it was just it punched you in the gut a couple of times.
Well, I
And
mean, spoiler alert, it has to do with suicide, right?
and date rape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So those were some scenes that were a little hard to watch. But now we're all watching Netflix documentaries about children being murdered by their parents. So
We will go there. We're going to go
we're
there.
so desensitized.
Yeah. So our featured cast, you pointed out to me in a text before I watched the episode that we lost Laura this week.
Yes.
So we thought that we would do a brief look at Lindsley Register again.
Yeah. So did you have anything?
Well, I will confess to you now that I'm locked out of my Instagram and I can't get back in, but I did start following her on Instagram because of you. So I did notice when I was looking at her IMDb page that she actually has another credit for this season of The Walking Dead, which is it's an episode called The Tower, and it looks like it's going to be episode 15.
So I had heard that there was going to be an episode where we see a lot of cast members that have passed.
Oh, so I wonder if somebody's having like a flashback or a vision or...
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. That'll be interesting. Well, it's probably that episode. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I remember you talking about her cats, Beowulf and Grendel, which is why I started following her on Instagram. And her credits that I really wanted to bring up were House of Cards. And then she was also had a recurring role on a History Channel series about SEAL Team 6.
Oh.
Called Six. So she was working while she was on The Walking Dead.
Well, she does have a short that's been completed. And okay, so there's a movie called Scorn that's completed, and then a TV series called Ember. But if you look at the IMDb for Ember, it's got a couple of the same casts as Scorn.
Oh, interesting.
And it I swear the one on the app on my phone gives me different information than the one on my computer.
The internet has it out for you tonight.
Unless they were like, oh crap, Lindsay Register died. Laura died on The Walking Dead. We're gonna have to update the IMDb page.
Right. So the thing that I will point out about Ember is that Shannon Elizabeth is in that series with her. And
yes.
I remember her from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
And I remember her from American Pie.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm. She was the hot exchange student.
She's a great actress. I like her. So that should be a fun series if it ever gets picked up. Yeah.
Yeah. I was really taken by surprise that we lost Laura this episode.
I was bummed out because I know she hasn't had a huge role, but I like the actress. I like the character. I really liked her arc, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I liked that she was a savior that, I mean, she's now on the Alexandria City Council, who would have thought that one of the saviors would have come so far?
Up, Gamma, there's a city council opening.
I I am excited that Thora Birch seems like she's going to be a cast regular. So
I agree. We'll talk about that too, I'm sure.
but
But
yeah, going back on the rewatch, I really thought there. I forget his real name. I'm sorry, I forget his character name. It's Kendrick Green, Sonequa Martin
oh,
Green's
yeah,
husband,
yeah,
who's also on the council.
yeah.
He had like a whole bunch of lines, and Laura's just standing there, and I was like, oh, they really should have given Laura all the lines this
Right. You could have
episode,
thrown her a bone, man, if you were writing her
right?
out.
Because normally they do that. Normally it's like, uh-oh, they're focusing on that one person.
Hmm.
Oh, but man, she went out fighting.
Speaking of which, this is totally a rotting potpourri thing, but I'm going to say it now because I don't want to forget it. All right, so the fact that Rosita and Gabriel had a moment and he was like, take care of yourself and I'll be back, and gave her the hat, I'm like, oh, one of them is doomed.
Oh, God. Lindsay's Twitter just blew up over
Oh,
the past
really?
couple of days.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she's been retweeting a lot of people's, saying how sad they were that, her character died and everything.
Very good.
But yeah, like as soon as I saw it on Sunday night, I went to her Twitter and I was like, no, because I hadn't watched The Talking Dead yet. And I was like, okay, it's not like he like snapped her neck or like impaled her on something. She could still be alive, but no, she was in memoriam.
Yeah.
And I was really disappointed she was not on The Talking Dead.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of think she got robbed.
I mean, I liked having Thora Birch on, but yeah. And I actually really enjoyed the cast member from The World Beyond.
I did too. I can't wait to see his character. His storyline seems really interesting.
So did you notice, and this is another writing potpourri thing, but I'm going to say it while I'm thinking about it. I think that actor uses the pronouns they, them, and their. Because they actually used those pronouns when they were speaking with that actor, and I want to say that they are gender fluid and use non-gendered pronouns.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I will admit, as far left as I am, I can't get used to that. It's just,
Do you want to know why we struggle with it? Because we're old, and because in English class we were taught that them, they, and their is plural.
Right?
That is truly the reason that my brain struggles with it. It's
right?
lame, I admit it, but there it is.
And there's a whole bunch of languages that don't have gender pronouns, so we're just behind the times.
Oh, all right. Anything else to say about Lindsley?
I don't think so. I will hopefully try and see one of her movies. I don't know where they will be featured, but they're kind of horror-ish movies, so they're right up my alley.
I totally thought that Scorn looked like it would be right up your alley. The picture of that's on it is her holding a bloody knife.
Oh, yeah. I love the tagline, a story about ugly things beautiful people do to each other. Oh, that just screams Velvet Buzzsaw.
Now, that was Pollyanna McIntosh, right?
I think so.
I mean, I don't remember, but I want to say that we talked about it when we were podcasting Walking Dead. So
I can only picture Jake Gyllenhaal and Russo. I can't remember.
Now you got to do the IMDb thing, and I'm knitting, so you have to do it.
Oh, Renee Russo. I don't remember. Yeah, I remember nobody.
All right. While you're doing that, I'm going to introduce our new corner. So it's the Housewives Housekeeping Corner. I figured we would try to corral our non-Walking Dead things into a few minutes in the Housewives Housekeeping, so that if people want to fast forward through it, they totally can.
Okay.
So I watched a Netflix documentary on the recommendation of a friend this weekend called The Pharmacist. Have you watched it yet?
No, it came, of course, I swear like 99% of us have the same like recommendations for Netflix. So it
Absolutely.
came up on the top, like, the big one that auto plays,
Hmm.
but I was into something else. And so I immediately went to that. But yeah, it's been recommended. It's like a 91% match to what other stuff that I watch.
So it is, in fact, about a pharmacist who is from New Orleans, and he lost his son, I don't know, probably 20 years ago now. Maybe a little bit. I don't know exactly when. I'm bad. I don't remember the date that he lost his son, but he lost his son in a drug deal. And he actually kind of forced things and forced the PD to find his son's killer. So that was kind of his driving, his motivating force. In the midst of all of this, as he's working as a pharmacist, he starts getting all of these prescriptions from a single doctor for OxyContin. And it's right around the time that Purdue Pharma was really heavily marketing and heavily pushing OxyContin. And then he started seeing young, healthy people coming in with huge scripts for OxyContin.
Yeah.
Then he started seeing young, healthy people dying from overdosing on OxyContin. And so he like went on this single man crusade to get the DEA and the medical board and the FBI to look at this doctor and eventually shut her down.
Wow.
It was really good. And I will tell you, one of the most compelling parts of it, they actually have a former drug rep from Purdue Pharma.
Really?
Yes, and he is fascinating, and he
You
has
would
nothing good to say
you would
about.
think he would have signed an NDA.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, under which conditions he spoke, but he pulls no punches.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really good. And then you
Huh.
and Amy totally ruined me and got me started on
Gabriel Fernandez.
the trials of Gabriel Fernandez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, if you are looking for something really dark, yeah.
It's one of those things where when I started it, I was like, I'm not sure if I can watch this, and now I'm just hooked in.
Right? Like the first probably 5 minutes, there's a what is triage nurse
So
or
she was the nurse who was working the ambulance bay in the ER. So she was the nurse who was who greeted
charting.
ambulances as they came in.
And she wound up charting injuries on this kid, and the people working on him, the doctors and nurses working on him, were calling out the injuries. And I mean, it was just, they started piling up, and she pierced my cold dead heart. Like, she kind of made me cry a little. I will admit it. I shed a tear. Like, she still celebrates this little boy's birthday.
Yeah,
her
that's
and her
just
family.
chilling. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, so if you were looking to go down a dark road.
I will tell you, as an ER nurse, I have had a couple of those moments where I'm like, I am in the middle of this. I am in the middle of this code, and I just cannot wrap my head around what's happening right now.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of those moments. Thank God, not as gruesome and as grim as what she experienced, but those moments are really hard. They live with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I highly recommend that series, but you have to be prepared for some real darkness.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's really interesting. So I've been more on Twitter recently, and I saw a tweet recently that was like, when are we going to finally admit that all of these children who are struggling so hard because the adults in their lives are broken?
Mm-hmm.
And when they go back and start to talk about Gabriel's mom and everything that she experienced, it doesn't give her a pass for everything that happened to that little boy, but it sure it illuminates how some of this developed.
It's a cycle.
Yeah.
It's a cycle of, I mean, look, drug dependency, our opioid crisis.
Yeah.
It's a cycle of domestic violence. It's a cycle of what did you call it? Dying of depression?
Oh, deaths of despair.
Deaths of despair.
Oh,
Yeah.
diseases of
Like,
despair and deaths of despair. Oh my gosh, look at the stuff on that if you want to have your heart broken. There was a great
so,
documentary on HBO called One Nation Under Stress that talks about deaths of despair.
I mean, stress and depression and all of these things literally change the mapping of your brain and they corrode your DNA.
Yeah.
So, somebody who grows up in that environment is not going to be a stable functioning adult most of the time.
It's going to take a heck of a lot of work and a heck of a lot of care.
Yeah.
And a lot of support that most of these folks don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, it's no excuse for what happened to that little boy, but it's you got to get to the root of the problem.
Yeah. I told you the Housewives Corner was going to be grim. All right, we're going to wrap it up on coronavirus. So absolutely wash your hands. Do not waste money on masks because it's not going to keep you from getting sick. The only time you need a mask is if you're sick. So you are not passing droplets on to somebody else.
Yep. And if you think that you are sick and may have the coronavirus, how about calling your doctor or the ER and giving them a heads up you're coming in? So maybe they can take you in the back door and quarantine you.
Right.
So you don't infect everyone in the waiting room.
And PSA, get your vaccines. If
Yes.
we know you're protected against pneumococcal pneumonia, if we know you're protected against the most prevalent strains of the flu, those are things that we can roll out pretty quickly.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think there's legit reason to be concerned, but there are some things that we can do as intelligent people that will help us deal with this.
Be vigilant, but live your life.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, like we seriously, in public health director's office, we actually had a call today. Someone, because of course there's been 9 deaths in Washington because of it. Now,
and there's like a direct pipeline between Alaska and Washington.
Yes, it's it's where our barges of food come from, and the person was concerned about the food being tainted with coronavirus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I didn't answer the phone. So I was thinking, humans do pick your apples. Like, you should probably wash them anyway.
I don't have enough data about how long the coronavirus can live on an inanimate surface. I don't think that we've got full information about that yet.
So I was actually just on the CDC's website yesterday and reading about how it, depending on what the material is, whether it's like cloth or metal or anything like that, it can survive anywhere from like 3 to 9 hours, but it possibly could survive longer.
So the jury's still kind of out.
Yeah. Okay. I forget where I read something where they were trying to trace back somebody's where they got it from, and they went and swabbed something and it tested positive. So yes, you can get it from surfaces. So wash your hands. And don't touch your face.
And don't touch your face. I'm a face toucher. I'm in big trouble.
Right? I know. Like, seriously, every time I itched my nose today, I was like, stop it. Stop it.
Yeah. So I will take us out on, my big disappointment is that the zombie apocalypse is not going to involve zombies.
Right? We are not the Walking Dead. We are the end of the world.
Oh, that's too funny. So, Whisperer's Corner was dead, man. All I found were the Forbes articles.
Yeah,
and reviews.
I couldn't read them, and then there was one really clickbaity article that I didn't read. Inside the Walking Dead's fight over profits and why it matters.
Oh, so that's got to go to the Frank Darabont case.
Yeah. I think so. I didn't click on it. It's clickbait.
Yeah.
Los Angeles Times. Nope, it's not behind a paywall. Interesting.
Well, while you're looking at that, so basically, Paul Tassi, his article this week was, when is Michonne leaving and when is Maggie coming back? So he basically... Oh, go ahead.
Maggie has been the picture for season 10 on IMDb like this entire time.
Oh, too funny. So he doesn't really have any great guesses as to when we're going to see Maggie, although he is suggesting that she is potentially going to get Rick's Commonwealth arc, which I think is interesting. And he pretty much says what we've all been saying all along, which is that Michonne is going to figure out somehow that Rick is still alive and she's going to go find him.
So my only issue with that is, does she take Judith and RJ, or does she leave them behind?
So his take on it, which I know we've kind of talked about a little bit too, is she realizes it's going to be incredibly dangerous, so she leaves RJ and Judith with trusted friends.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure how they're gonna do all that, but
seriously, you're gonna have to nail Judith's feet to the floor.
Right.
She's gonna go after her mom.
Yeah, good point. That could lead to some interesting conflict.
Right?
Yep. And then the Eric Kane article, he just basically talked about how this was probably one of his favorite episodes of the season. And he talked about it having a very Friday the 13th vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no news.
No.
So unless you've gleaned something in the couple of minutes that you've had to look at that article about profits.
Well, it talks about the arbitration last year that was settled between 20th Century Fox Television over this Bones series. There was a landmark $178.7 million judgment against 20th Century Fox, but it was reduced to $50 million in favor of stars Emily Deschanel and David Boreanaz. And it was... I think it had something to do with the Sony hack, where the stars of TV shows found out how much profit the studios were really making off of them, and they weren't getting their full cut. And so it kind of sounds like maybe some of the Walking Dead creators are looking into that.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they do mention Darabont filing his second lawsuit in 2018. Yeah. What AMC has done, and it is doing, is a bad old-fashioned self-dealing. I
bet you the series ends before they get that all sorted out.
Yeah, me too.
At the rate they're going. I mean, when did Frank Darabont leave the show? 2011?
Wow. It's been that long?
It's been that long. He was not around for second season.
Yeah. Can't everyone just be happy with the millions they're getting? I'm sorry. I have very little sympathy over millionaires fighting with billionaires. It's just...
It's Super Tuesday. Don't get me started.
Oh, man. All right. Should we get into our goods, bads, and uglies?
I think so. I think we're there.
So do you want to go first since I spoiled this show for you?
I will steal the good first because I have a feeling it's probably going to be either your good or your ugly. So the whole homage to The Walking Dead's horror roots.
Yes. That was my good.
Yes. So we talked about it last week when we saw Beta coming out of the grave. But also, again, Beta as the slasher.
Mm-hmm.
And right down to the whole trope of he's shot, but nobody bothers to check and make sure he's dead.
and he like pops back alive and grabs their
Yes.
leg.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just classic horror.
Yeah, I mean, when he comes out of the grave and he's stalking everyone in town, and those two guys are talking smack about whispers,
Yes.
I'm just like, oh my God, you're the idiot teenagers who are
Yes.
like, do you hear that? There's somebody outside. Oh, it was so great.
Yeah, it was really well done.
Yeah,
I mean, it revisited those things, but it didn't feel stale.
right, right. It took an interesting spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
what's funny is I don't know why it caught me by surprise. So when we first see Beta, he's going into that trailer, and I thought that when they moved that bench, that the Thora Birch, the Gamma, was going to be, locked in this tiny little coffin, like,
right, especially because there was
room.
like that buzzing fly, and yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
quite sure what he was going down into.
And then he jumped down, and I'm like, okay, like they have her in some sort of cell under here. And then I was like, oh, wait, maybe it connects to the cave, and he's going and getting the orb.
Oh,
And then when he pops out of the grave, I'm like, oh, duh. I saw this on the ad last week. But yeah, I mean, the hand coming from the grave, it is one of the horror tropes that we actually have not seen in the zombie movie, the zombie show,
correct. Yeah, absolutely.
somebody crawling from a grave.
Yep. And they picked the right way to do it, and they picked the right character to do it with.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like I said, for me, it was a mix between Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, because he looked like he had like that burned face like Freddy had.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's just so hulking that I couldn't help but think of Jason Voorhees. And then, of course, Jason Voorhees used a machete, but Mike Myers used a knife. So it was all there.
Yeah.
It was great.
I agree. So we both had the same good. What are the
We
odds
both
that
had
we
the same
have the
good.
same bad?
Oh, what's your bad?
Okay, so Daryl did essentially what he accused Carol of. He went off
Yes,
totally
he did.
half-cocked. He almost got himself killed, and he did it because he was grief-stricken and not thinking straight.
Yep. He did
So
do that.
the bigger question that I have is this out of character for Daryl? We haven't seen Daryl react from a big emotional place like that in a really long time.
I would say it's out of character, but his character has evolved so much. I mean, not that we've seen Dog all season, but
Right.
he bonded with Dog. He's like kind of become like an uncle figure to Lydia. Like he's developing, more complex emotions.
I would have to say, though, I mean, I'm thinking back, and the last times I remember him being this emotional was when they found Merle's hand on the rooftop.
Beth.
Oh, no, I wasn't done.
Okay.
So that, and then...
Because that's a very famous meme of him crying.
Right. And then probably when he had to put Merle down. And then
Yeah.
I think about the season 2 stuff, Cherokee Rose, Chupacabra, that stuff. I felt like he was more motivated by unbridled emotion then, but we haven't seen it in a really long time. Although your point is well taken. The whole reason that Officer Dawn got shot is that he just reacted
Yeah.
to Beth's death. So
Yep.
But still, that was season 4. We're in season 10. It's been a long time since we've seen that side of Daryl.
I don't remember getting a reaction from him. I think that there was, but I don't remember focusing on him when Rick, quote unquote, died.
True, and he did spend all that time with Michonne going up and down the riverbank looking for Rick.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not as out of character as I thought.
Yeah, we usually just don't see. I mean, usually his way of coping with something is just one foot in front of the other and just, trudging forward.
But I will definitely say, again, he did exactly what he got down on Carol for in the last episode.
The only caveat I will put into that is that he wasn't doing it for revenge. He was seeking out to rescue Connie and Magna.
Do you think?
Oh, he was looking for another entrance to
Was
the
he?
cave.
Okay, because I missed that then. I was just
Yeah.
like, he's stalking Alpha. I'm not sure why he's stalking Alpha. That totally makes sense.
No, I think he was stalking those rando whisperers, and he was like, oh, look, there's an entrance. I'm just going to, take these guys out. And then he saw Alpha and was like, okay, we're going to settle this right now.
That really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So it's not a much better excuse for running off, but at least he was only putting himself in danger.
Right?
Whereas Carol was putting like a half dozen people in danger.
But he's the leader of Alexandria now. He's pretty darn important.
I know, that's so weird. The de facto leader.
Mm-hmm. All right, what was your bad?
My bad actually was not the same, but it also had to do with Daryl.
Okay.
He would have totally bled out.
Okay, so that's really funny. That gets to some feedback from Thomas O'Mara because he was basically like, yeah, I really liked it except one big glaring medical error. And I was
right?
like, yeah. So when I first watched it, I was like, okay, I'm a little bit bugged that he's not pulling the knife out of his leg. But
what?
He is, wait, let me finish. But he is following rule number 1 of trauma, which is that you don't remove the thing that's impaling you until you get to a trauma center.
Yes.
Because you need the pressure against that to keep it from bleeding.
I was going to say, at the very minimum, take your belt off and make a tourniquet.
Right. And then when he pulled it out and there was this big arterial spray, it was like, all right, that's the femoral artery and you bleed out in a very, very short period of time.
Yeah. Oh, God, what is that movie that or the show that I wanted you to watch with Sandra Oh?
Killing Eve.
Yes. There's actually a scene, spoiler alert. It's a very minor scene, but there's actually a scene where the female serial killer, she just like walks by this guy and she acts like she stumbles and she really cuts his femoral artery.
Oh, that's cool.
And she's like, oh, he catches her and she's like, oh, thank you. And she starts to walk away and like, he just like falls to the ground and you just see this giant pool of blood because that's what happens with you when you cut the femoral artery.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how fast you bleed out, but you bleed out pretty fast.
Yeah, pretty fast. And they were there like all night.
Yeah, Daryl should have been dead.
I actually, for a second there, when
thought he was going to die.
Yeah.
I know, I did too.
He kind of had like a labored gargle kind of breathing. And I was like, oh man, are they going to pull this one over on us? And then when Alpha started crawling towards him, I'm like, oh God, is this going to be a mutually assured destruction? Like, what is going on? And then I thought it was going to be Carol that was going to come save him and kill Alpha. And I had all kinds of thoughts that were wrong.
Well, I did too. And I was like, this is how we're going to lose Alpha? This is how that big arc is going to end?
Right? I was a little worried. I was like, if this is Daryl's last episode, they hid this really well.
Yeah.
But no, he's sitting up and talking, and he'll probably be walking in the next episode.
And he was totally recovered after some rest propped up against a tree.
Yeah. Because he didn't lose like 4 units of blood.
Right. Yeah. No, I completely agree. That was... It was not well thought through.
Maybe he'll die of infection, because, people do die of infection. all these people running around with cuts and wearing walker skins and drinking tainted water and all this kind of stuff. It's like like people died before antibiotics because, infection.
Did I ever tell you that that was totally my reaction to Pulp Fiction?
No.
So my friend Todd loves the movie Pulp Fiction, and he was like, you have to go see this movie with me. I can give or take Quentin Tarantino. I generally kind of struggle with him a little bit, although I like the Kill Bill movies. When Uma Thurman gets stabbed in the heart with that needle, I'm like, she'll be dead of sepsis in a week.
Yeah, but it won't be the other guy's problem by then. I got her home safe.
Yeah.
It's up to you after that. That's funny. So, what was your ugly?
Okay, my ugly was all of the badass women in this episode.
Oh my god, right?
Was it yours too?
No.
Okay.
I have that written down. Who would have thought that Beta was almost taken out by a group of women and girls?
All right, so here we go. Judith shooting Beta. That was such a killer scene. I loved that.
Yeah.
Rosita going up against Beta.
Goth Samurai.
Right? Laura giving her life against Beta.
Mm-hmm.
Gamma sacrificing herself to protect Alexandria.
Yeah, she fought with her head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lydia saving Daryl.
Yep.
And even Alpha, I mean, as crazy as she was badass in this episode.
Yeah. This was definitely the we persist episode.
Yes, this was the girl power episode. Yeah, so I really love that. I love the writing. I would like to think it was intentional, so that's what I'm going to believe, is that we featured all of these really strong women in different ways.
Yeah. We've always said that the Walking Dead Prime, had Rick as the male lead, and they tried to force a square peg into a round hole and have Fear the Walking Dead have the female leader of the group, and it was just too forced. It has to come naturally like this. So I really like that we've taken that arc.
And then they tried to foist off Filthy Woman on us.
I forgot about her. Oh, no. So my ugly was a very, very small ugly that is actually a greater part of the universe that we talk about.
Okay.
So when Judith is talking to Gamma in the cell, and what's your name? And she's like, nobody's even asked me that. And Gamma's telling her about her life and, how, when she met Alpha, like she has the power to like make all those things, go away or whatever. And Judith said, you met the wrong person first.
Yes.
Oh, that just gives me chills, because what do we always talk about? Like the villain is the hero of their own piece. And what if we had been a savior? Or what if we had been a termite? Or what if we had been a whisperer? Like the Alexandrians would be the bad ones. So, Judith saying you met the wrong person first is just, I was just blown away by that line. I loved it. And I loved that it came from Judith.
Well, and I love that she showed an interest in Gamma and treated Gamma like a human being.
I was thinking that too, is she treats everyone exactly the same.
Yeah.
She treats Negan like the same. She treats Gamma the same. The same as she treats, Rosita or Gabe or, anybody else. She's just, people are people.
That's pretty cool. I mean, talk about the redemptive arc. Talk about the redemptive power. Just this person seeing you as a person.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about that a lot just in my own life and in my practice as a healthcare provider. And I think that seeing someone is so important. Feeling like you're being seen. We
have a tendency to pigeonhole people into, kind of the one big thing we know about them, you know?
And you're right. You're absolutely right. Judith does not do that. She meets
No.
everyone on equal ground,
Yep.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Especially for a 10-year-old. I
Yeah.
wonder if that's a side effect of being raised in the apocalypse, or if that's just that she has a really cool mom and dad.
Yeah, I don't know, but I've never keyed into that feature as an important characteristic of that little character, but it sure is.
Oh, I just love her little snarky back and forth that she has with Negan, because like he'll say something snarky to her and she snarks right back. I love it.
Yeah, no, I mean, she's awesome, but just that whole power of seeing someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty phenomenal. You gave me chills. You just blew me away with that.
Which, I mean, it really caught my attention before that when, Gamma was like, nobody's ever asked, nobody here's asked me that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, God, that's right. Nobody even asked her name. To them, she was just Whisperer number 4.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So it was such a tiny little part, but it just blew me away.
Yeah,
So,
no, it was huge. It's a huge realization about the importance of that character.
yeah.
I mean, she's the reason that we potentially have some redemptive stuff going on with Negan. She's the reason now that we've got an ally in Gamma.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If only she could have gotten to Dante. Sadiq would be alive.
Right.
Can you believe it's only been 2 days?
I know, when Denise Huth said that on Talking Dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then when on my rewatch, Rosita said it to Gamma. She's like, the last Whisperer that was in that cell killed my husband, or killed my baby's father 2 days ago. And I was like, oh, wow.
I think we have a tendency, I know I have a tendency to forget how little time has actually elapsed between episodes.
Well, usually when we go on any kind of break, we come back and it's like 8 years later, or 2 years later. So to have it pick up exactly where we left off is, it totally threw me. And so we're totally into Rotting Potpourri now.
We're totally into Rotting Potpourri.
I received a call from the other housewife last night.
Oh, really?
To chastise me for not talking about Lydia last episode.
Well, so what's really funny is I was writing in my notes and I was thinking about that because she said the same thing to me a few nights ago, and I was like, where is Lydia? And then all of a sudden Lydia appears.
Right? And so she's driving home and she has me on speakerphone and she's like, you didn't talk about Lydia, blah, blah, blah. I was like, have you seen the recent episode? She's like, no. I was like, okay, shush, we will talk about Lydia on the next episode. So here we are. And I don't think the other housewife realized either that it had only been 2 days, because she mentioned something to me about Lydia's been out by herself all of these months.
Right. It feels like Lydia's been out by herself for a huge amount of time.
Right. And really, it's probably only been like maybe a week or two,
Right.
since she ran off into the woods. Maybe. Right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if a week or two.
So, she could have even probably gone without food at this point and still be okay. But she seemed to be doing fine on her own. But yeah, I had completely forgotten about Lydia. My assumption in my brain was that when she ran off, she went and rejoined the Whisperers, and she was back in the Whisperer camp, and I didn't recollect her having an interaction with her mother or anything, but it was just assumed in my brain that Lydia was back with the Whisperers. Of course she is, because where else would she be? Okay, and then she shows up.
I totally did not assume that she was with the Whisperers, but I will admit to being completely guilty of not even thinking about her.
And I do have to say, for as much crap as I give Lydia as an annoying teenage girl, I really think that independence looks good on her. Like, she seems to kind of have grown up in this, like, 2 weeks or whatever it's been, you know?
She seemed very strong.
Yeah, so that might be an interesting arc to go with. Because standing up to her mom like she did, you know? And saving Daryl, and yeah. Yeah, so we talked about Lydia.
Yes, we did. And the where is Lydia question is resolved to some degree.
Yes.
So I totally thought, and this goes back to the whole resemblance to ghosts and the reality versus unreality. I totally thought that dream that Rosita was having about Beta standing over Coco's crib was reality, and that Coco was toast.
Yes, because he had just crawled out of the grave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we go from that to him stabbing Coco. Like, that was horrendous. And then, of course, she wakes up terrified, and I'm like, oh, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Although, I think they live on Morgan Street.
Oh, gosh, that's too funny.
Because they later in the episode, somebody's like, you check Morgan Street or whatever. And I was like, okay, are they calling it Morgan Street because Morgan lives on the street? Or did they actually name the street Morgan?
Morgan doesn't live there anymore.
No, so like, is it like the Morgan Memorial Street?
There you go. It's Morgan Memorial Avenue.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. I thought the tension was pretty bizarre between Rosita and Gabe.
Yeah.
And I definitely, in terms of Gabe, like, you know, take their fingers, take their teeth, that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So again, part of me was like, is this out of character for Gabe? And then I thought, no, he has always been an opportunist.
So I also like the way that it was pointed out on The Talking Dead that it's been 2 days since Sadiq was, you know, dead. And, you know, Gabe just killed Dante.
Right. He's still riding that whole high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if, yeah, I guess it is kind of a high. I was like, I don't know if I'd call it a high.
I'm not saying it's a good high.
Yeah, it's definitely a power trip because he was like, we got to her. We can get to them. Yeah.
And I think that is such arrogance to think that they have broken down Gamma and they'll be able to break down the other Whisperers.
Yeah, because Gamma was ready. You know, Gamma was like 90% there already, whereas the other Whisperers are somewhere between like 10 and 70. Like, Alpha seems to call the herd, you know, the living Whisperers, whenever somebody's like, maybe blankets are good, you know, or how about some shelter?
That is so funny. Maybe blankets are good.
Could we not eat worms tonight? Like, you know, anytime there was dissension in the ranks, she just added to the horde, you know? So people are either drinking the Kool-Aid or they are so terrified of Alpha that, you know, they're going to be difficult to break because of, you know, fear is such a great motivator. Yeah. It's not going to be so easy to break the other Whisperers, Gabe.
No, I don't think so either.
No. Call your father. You're in a cult. Oh, so was Negan still recovering from last episode? Where was Negan? Like, I am genuinely curious where Negan was.
It's that post-coital glow.
I have a picture of himself, of him still in that field, just in his socks. Like, what did I do?
That is so funny.
But seriously, like you would think he would be right in the middle of the action, or is she a love him and leave him, like one and done?
Well, he did
You
make
stay
some
back,
praying mantis references, so, we're not even sure Negan is still alive at this point.
right? He could have been in the Horde.
And it's been a really long time. How long was he in that cell?
Like 8 years?
Right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I was, joking aside, I was genuinely curious because I was like, what would happen if Negan had been with Alpha when Daryl attacked?
Ooh, that would have been really interesting.
What would Negan have done? Would he have sided with Daryl? Would he have, like, kind of backed away into the forest? Like, I don't know if he would have fought Daryl for Alpha.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about Negan and his alliances at this point.
Yeah. Somebody, one of my coworkers said, she's like, I can't figure out whose side he's on. I was like, his side.
Yes, that is exactly right.
Negan can always be counted on to be on his side.
Yep.
So, so who carved the, your way is not the only way? Do you think it was Lydia? Because she could barely read or write. Like, I'm just saying. She was struggling to read when we last coped with that.
Good point.
Daryl was in no shape to do any wood carving. So I just would like to point that out. There was a continuity error.
Never mind the femoral artery. There was another continuity error.
Well, and like, yeah, I know you're bleeding out over there, but I just got to do this one thing first. I got to leave my mom a note. Oh.
Did you think at the end of the episode that she was still dying? I mean, for a minute there, I was like, she's in bad shape.
Yeah. Yeah, I really this episode really kept me guessing. I every time that I thought that I knew the next thing that was going to happen, it like something different happened. And when she was laying there, I was like, okay, she's dying and she'll just become part of the whole. Yeah. And they'll still worship her, but she'll be a walker, She'll
be one of the guardians.
Yeah, she'll be canonized that way. And then I was like, well, maybe, she's kind of getting up, like maybe she'll sacrifice herself and then be like, no, she's, I guess she didn't lose 4 units of blood, so she can walk on her own.
I wasn't really clear on exactly what her injuries were.
Head trauma. There was something about her chest. I think she got slashed in the chest and he poked that big stick into it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were cutting each other up pretty good.
It was not trauma that was as obvious as a knife to the leg.
No, that's right.
What else do I have? I really liked, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I liked hearing about Gamma's pre-Whisperer's life. Mm-hmm. I liked that she talked about where she was from, that she talked about her parents' names. It kind of humanized her a little bit.
Yeah, and they had talked about on The Talking Dead, they had asked, was she lying about any of that? And I'm like, no, there's really no motivation to lie about. I mean, Dante lied about his past, but I think there was some truth to it. And it's like, what's the point about lying about your past? It's other than to maybe make yourself look better or, yeah. I don't feel like she was lying about that. And I like the way that like she kind of lost it mid-sentence and was like, I don't remember, Mm-hmm. I mean, we forget sometimes that it has been 10 plus years into the zombie apocalypse. And how old is Gamma? Like 30, maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. And so, only having known what the whispers are for the past, however many years, up to 10. Yeah, I liked that she just had kind of forgotten what life was like before.
I also liked how she talked. I wrote this down. She talked about echoes of feelings.
Huh.
Which I just thought was a really interesting turn of phrase.
Yeah. Huh. So I think probably one of the last things that I have written down is going back to the horror trope. So, God, how many times have we been misdirected, and we fall for it every time when Gabe leads most of the people outside of Alexandria.
Oh, that's a really good point.
So, and then they realize,
darn, I was out of the gates and I was in the wrong place.
I feel like when it dawned on them what was going on, it was the call is coming from inside the house.
Right. Yes, totally. That is really funny. I didn't pick up on that, but that's a really good point.
Yeah, oh man, that's exactly what I thought when that, like, this just look came over his face where it's like, the call is coming from inside the house.
That is really funny.
Oh.
I think so. A couple of the other things that I had written down, so I just felt like there was a lot more mystery in this episode than there was in the last episode. And people talked about being on the edge of their seats last episode. I was on the edge of my seat this episode.
Yeah, there was a lot in this episode, and it was action packed.
The other thing that I wrote down was, did you notice that on the Talking Dead, Thora Birch no longer refers to Gamma as Gamma? She calls her Mary.
Mary, yeah. Yeah.
Which I thought was very cool.
I was trying to put the two together and be like, yeah, Mary? Yeah. I liked in the end that Rosita introduced herself.
Right. After punching her out.
After punching her out.
I am going to go to Biters because we've got a little bit of feedback.
Okay.
We got an email or a private message from Victoria Morris in the UK. And my internet, too, is being very slow.
I swear it's because it's Super Tuesday and everyone's refreshing their pages.
I'm sure. All right. So she said about last week. God, I can almost get there. There we go. Okay, only just managed to watch the mid-season premiere. Thought it was claustrophobically brilliant, but they better not kill off Connie. She's hands down one of my favorite newbies, and I really want her to stay. I like her attitude and how caring she is of others. You won't be surprised to hear that yet again I had to turn the brightness up on my TV to 100 to see anything. I also had to put the sound on 50, normally 15. How are they not acknowledging these issues after all this time?
Okay, so my other half, who is a gamer, we have, a bunch of consoles and stuff and all the different games and blah, blah, blah. And on our big living room TV, apparently there is different modes on your TV. And he was playing a game that had a lot of, your character being out at night or in dark caves or whatever. And he switched it from, television mode to cinema mode or something like that. So play with those modes and see which one comes up better.
You think I am more techie and smarter than I am.
And this has been Tech Corner, brought to you by the Housewives. And so the other thing was, God, where was I going?
So we were talking about brightness and we were talking about sound.
There was something about the last episode.
And how could they not be addressing this not addressing this issue after all this time?
No, something about the show. So Connie, there was an article that I did read that said that they actually, the reason why Connie is one of the ones that's stuck in, it's not just because, Connie and Daryl, it's because the actress is going to be on The Eternals.
Oh, right.
And they wanted to give a good excuse for her not being on the show for a while. So that kind of makes me think that we're not going to find Connie and Magna next episode.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, they knew that her not being in the show was going to be conspicuous, so they wanted to give it her I forget how they put it, but they wanted to give it meaning, and the way that it was phrased, her absence and her absence meaning, they wanted to give it meaning. And so I was like, okay, that kind of sounds like she's coming back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to kill Lydia and Magna. I mean, they could kill one or the other. I mean, they could kill both, but I mean, maybe one of them is their legs crushed under a rock and they truly are bleeding out.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to kill him off.
No, I don't think so either.
I mean, I could be totally wrong, but I don't think they're going to kill him off. Let's see, what else do I have? We talked about Thomas O'Mara's medical miracle comment, which you and I were totally on the same thing.
Yeah.
Pedro Pelez said, I was on the edge of my seat from beginning to end about this episode. There were a couple of things that if you think too hard about them, it probably doesn't make complete sense, but it makes for good sense and good suspense and storytelling. Diane LaSorsa said, I really liked the episode, was on the edge of my seat for most of it. Love the horror movie vibe from Beta in the Houses. So stuff was over the top, but loving this season. But she did say too many face close-ups.
I didn't notice.
And then Bryce said, dare I say I am loving the second half. Also, Carol kills herself via her comic book death because of her guilt. That's his prediction.
Okay. I haven't read the comics books, but I totally will go read the Wikipedia. But I don't recall how Carol dies. So
it's really early in the comic book series, and she basically throws herself at a whisperer. Or not a whisperer, a walker. She lets herself get bit.
She'll probably do it for Daryl.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bold prediction too, or so I thought, but I can't find it in my notes, so it must not have been that bold or that interesting.
Well, if you remember, you can post it.
Right? Honestly, I'm probably going to edit this episode, get it posted, and blog, and then go to bed.
Yeah. Yep. Gotta go out tomorrow and fight the coronavirus.
One fever and nose swab at a time.
Wash your hands.
Please wash your hands. Oh, God. All right. Well, I don't think I have anything else. Except, we'll say it again, we're going to be in Atlanta in October, so please, if you're going to be there, let us know because we would love to meet you.
And he probably doesn't listen to the show anymore, but Kirk is going to be there.
Yeah, so we'll get a chance to meet Kirk. That'll be really cool.
that like a kind of mini biters meeting.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, remember to wash your hands and don't touch your face.
And give your
Don't.
mask to the person who's coughing.
Yeah. Sneeze
Don't
into
keep
your
it for
elbow.
yourself.
But there will be a tomorrow. So until then, just remember, take it
one
one dead
day
day at
at
a
a
time.
time.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.